Today in Luther's kitchen, we're making fried rice, and I'm starting to prepare rice. I have a cup and a half of rice and 3 cups of water. Now I'm going to make a marinade for the meats, and in this recipe you can use multiple types of protein. You could use tofu squares. I'm using pork in this, but you could use chicken or you could use shrimp. So really, sky's the limit. So I'm using a spoon to take off that flaky skin of ginger root, and I'm going to grate about a teaspoon's worth of ginger for this marinade. I'm now going to put in a couple cloves of minced garlic, and I'm going to put some toasted sesame oil or dark sesame oil along with soy sauce and some canola oil. And I want to give that a good stir before adding some salt and pepper. I'm using boneless pork loin, and I'm trimming the fat off, and I'm cutting these in a large dice that are about 1 inch. I want to use approximately 1.5 pounds of meats for this recipe to feed 4 people. Now those trimmed cubes of pork or chicken or shrimp or even tofu squares, get a nice dip in that marinade. Make sure you mix everything very well before covering and putting in the refrigerator for at least a half hour or up to overnight. You really want the flavors to soak in. Now I'm prepping some veggies that I'm going to include in the fried rice. So the first veggie I use is scallions, and I'm removing off the end of the scallion and I'm cutting thinly the white part, and I'm going to use about 1 inch of the green as well. And once you cut initially the scallions, you want to go back and finely chop. For the carrots, I'm using baby carrots, and I'm cutting them in half lengthwise. Then I'm cutting each of those halves in half lengthwise so that I can get a very small dice. So kind of like mini triangles. I know my rice is done when all the water has been absorbed, and at this point you can fluff it with a fork. I'm using a wok, and I have already sprayed the inside with canola oil. It is a very hot wok, and I've cracked a couple eggs, and I'm dropping those in the hot wok, and I'm just swirling it around so that I get a nice, even, flat layer. Once one side of the egg is cooked, you want to carefully flip it over. And you don't have to make this in a wok. You can do this in a very large fry pan and just do the same thing. You're going to make like a super flat egg pancake. Then you're going to remove that onto a cutting board, and when it's cool enough to touch, you want to roll it up, and then you want to cut really thin strips, kind of like a chiffonade. Then you want to set those egg pieces aside while you cook the meat. So I'm using the same wok or fry pan. I haven't cleaned it or anything. And I don't need to put any more oil in because the marinade has some canola oil and some sesame oil. And I just want to cook the meat on high until it is cooked through. And then I'm going to remove it so that I can cook the rice. Same pan, now I'm spraying canola oil in there. You want to put a fair amount of oil. I'm sauteing the scallions, and now I'm adding some of that cooked rice back. So to feed 4 people, if you have about 2.5 to 3 cups of cooked rice, that's a good amount. I pre-cooked the carrots in the microwave just so they weren't going to be too hard, because I don't cook them for very long with the rice. So I wanted to make sure that they were already almost soft. So I'm adding some of those diced carrots in, and then I'm going to follow that with peas. These are just frozen peas. You can defrost them, or you can just put them in frozen. They'll cook pretty quickly. And it's important that you season this with some salt and pepper. And once your veggies have heated through and you've checked the seasoning, you can go ahead and add your protein back, whether it is shrimp, chicken, or even tofu. And then lastly, you want to add back your egg. Just give everything a good toss, taste it again, and then you can serve it. I like to serve this with some toasted sesame seeds on top and something green, even some finely chopped chives, or you could put a little more finely chopped scallion on top just to make it a little more visually attractive. And there you have it, fried rice. For this recipe and more, visit myclasscancook.com.